Why is a cutting-edge air defense system capable of intercepting Mach 20 hypersonic missiles met with embarrassment in the international arms market? When HQ-19 unveiled at the Zhuhai Airshow in 2024, its radar detection radius of up to 1,500 kilometers and 450 to 600 kilometers of altitude indicators, instantly making Western military observers fidgety. This is specifically designed to intercept intermediate-range ballistic missiles and even intercontinental missiles born of the Strategic Air Defense System. The performance parameters have been the performance parameters of this Strategic Air Defense System, which is designed to intercept medium-range ballistic missiles and even intercontinental missiles, have been fully crushed by the U.S. SAD system. However, the hot discussion in front of the booth contrasts sharply with the pessimistic expectations of military fans. Only a handful of countries around the world really need this great power, and missile powers such as China, the United States and Russia are by no means likely to purchase it from a competitor. This seems to have doomed the HQ-19 to the fate of top technology, but nowhere to sell it. Technology peak encountered political iron curtain. HQ-19 export predicament reflects the cruel reality of the international arms trade market. It was originally designed to build a national missile defense shield that could effectively intercept hypersonic targets flying at Mach 20, posing a deadly threat to medium-range ballistic missiles, with a range of 3,500 to 5,000 kilometers. When the Saudis, because of the Houthis, Tuifa missiles, frequently blow up oil fields into China, the U.S. immediately wielded the stick of sanctions. Egypt's intention to purchase HQ-19 by $1.3 billion in military aid cuts threatened to stifle the Saudi crown prince with LW-30 after the Saudi crown prince returned home with the LW-30 laser weapon drawings. The F-35 order was still frozen by the United States on the grounds of monitoring the missile code. Deeper obstacles lie in the compatibility of combat systems. China's radar when the NATO data chain may be paralyzed, and to make the Hongmeng ecological and Apple system on the battlefield seamless collaboration, unless the Pentagon is willing to surrender the satellite interface code. After-sales protection is a fatal weakness compared to the U.S. Army's 374 bases of the global spare parts network. From the Middle East desert to the North African Gobi, equipment failures, waiting for Chengdu shipment of time, enough to terrorists bombing 3 times the oil fields. Pakistan, however, has become the key to break the situation. The annual military spending of less than $10 billion of the country is due to India's missile threat and urgently seeking a strategic shield. India not only has a range of 5,000 kilometers of Spitfire 5 intercontinental missiles, but also in May 2025 in the Indo-Pakistani conflict, the brazen launch of 4 Earth ballistic missiles, one of which was successfully intercepted by the Pakistani railways with the HQ-19 but the threat of nuclear and conventional missiles has been like the sword of Damocles hanging high in the face of India's strong nationalistic sentiments in a border conflict that could escalate at any time. The Pakistani side announced on June 6, 2025 that it had entered into a military trade agreement with China and would be the first overseas user of the HQ-19s. The beauty of the deal is its cost-effectiveness, with a radius of nearly 1,000 kilometers. A few sets of HQ-19s are all that is needed to build a regional air defense network covering the entire Pakistani territory, which for a cash-strapped Pakistan is a far more realistic alternative to the costly deployment of dense air defense arrays. What really keeps New Delhi awake at night is Pakistan's synchronized air revolution. When the US media, Defense Security Asia, asserted that J-35E can make Pakistan to achieve 10 years of air superiority, the Pakistani side has confirmed the procurement of 40 J-35E stealth fighter and packaged the introduction of Air Marshal 500 AWACS, the formation of Stealthy Defense, Air Command, Missile Interception, of the whole Chinese combat system. This fighter hangs 40% more ammunition than F-35, gallium nitride radar detection distance of 250 kilometers, with a range of 200 kilometers of PL-15E missiles in the Kashmir airspace to form an overwhelming advantage. 2025 May Air War. The Pakistani Railways Driving Lords Block 3 with PL-15E has played 6-0 record crushed the Indian Rafale. The addition of J-35E will make the Indian early warning aircraft, even reaction time is not. More desperate India is that the Chinese side to provide cabbage price model at the same time supporting pilot training and maintenance system. Shenfei production line annual production capacity of 48, completely break the Western, delivery delay, monopoly chronic disease. The sky of South Asia has been rewritten, and India is caught in the double predicament of generation gap crushing and technological isolation. The main force of its air force in service presents the Bronze Age, decadence, MiG-21, crash 22 a year reduced to flying coffins. 31 squadron size shrunk to 70% of the target value. Although the Russian side proposed an India's local production Su-57 fighter, but this stealth performance is doubtful of the 5th-generation machine. Radar reflection area as high as 0.4 square meters, far more than the J-35 0.001 square meters. Avionics system is more backward a whole generation. India's self-developed Anka fighter reduced to paper, design drawings modified more than 10 times after the mass production time delayed until 2035. Retired generals of the Pakistan Railway mocked India's 5th-generation aircraft on the sky. Our J-35 should have retired. The United States tried to take advantage of the fire to promote F-35, but $180 million per unit price attached to dismantle the S-400 political blackmail. By Modi on the spot refused to sign too. New Delhi suddenly realized that they cannot put together a counterbalance to the chips of J-35, but also for the great powers of the game of the cash machine. The systematic combat of the lowering of the dimensional strike is the core logic of the China-Pakistan military trade subversion pattern. The combination of J-35E and Airborne Police 500 early warning aircraft is like a stealth assassin with a 1,000-mile eye. Airborne Police 500's 360-degree active phased array radar can penetrate clouds and electromagnetic interference to provide guidance for PL-17 ultra-long-range missiles, which can complete the hunt for targets when Indian warplanes have not yet discovered them. The HQ-19 is in the rear, and the HQ-19 is in the rear, and the HQ-19 is in the rear. HQ-19 in the rear of the strategic pivot role, forcing the Indian missile forces to lose the deterrent, even if the Indian Army risk launching Spitfire 5 missiles, but also in the ascending section of the HQ-19 kinetic energy interceptor warheads to 2,300 meters per second at high speed crashed. This attack and defense system compatibility. Just the United States strictly guarded technical barriers. Egypt has tried to mix and match the SAD and China's drones. Saudi Arabia dreamed of letting the F-35 and HQ-19 coordinated defense were ruthlessly strangled by Washington. Now Pakistan is using a full set of Chinese equipment to open up the chain of command, setting a dangerous and tantalizing precedent for countries around the world that are subject to military bondage. The strategic chess game between China, the United States and Russia has been shaken. Russia's rush to push the Su-57 into India's production line, even promising technology transfer, is in fact a breakthrough in Western sanctions to find a pool of funds. The US Defense News lamented that J-35 has already leveled, or even surpassed the F-35, and Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates turned around and squeezed into the back of the exhibition halls of China's airshow, indicating the cracks in the hegemony of arms. A more far-reaching change lies in the apprentice-to-agent model. China taught Serbia to manufacture Fk-3 anti-aircraft missiles. Belgrade has been able to provide after-sales maintenance for neighboring countries, if the HQ-19 replicates this path. So that Saudi Arabia has become the Middle East maintenance center, the political risk will be transformed into industrial chain gains. When the US technology chain confinement of allies, China is using the system of export pry open the Iron Curtain, J-35 to open the South Asian air control, HQ-19 to build a solid anti-missile shield, both superimposed not only to let India suffered for 10 years, but also quietly rewrite the rules of the game of military-industrial hegemony. The arms race is never a prelude to peace, but when defensive weapons become the body armor of small and weak countries, the hegemony of the spear will be difficult to wield. This may be China's military industry system export strategy for the turbulent world to inject the power of certainty